Good morning. Morning. Welcome to the Nut House. News changes on the moment. This tariff thing it's the next biggest joke next to impeachment. You know, the flip-flopping, the back and forth is kind of crazy. Now putting off the deadline for the tariffs, but you know, it's like a game of chess or checkers. I don't know. But anyway, so, you know, with this kind of erratic kind of price movement that we see, you could see, you know, the 15-minute chart I got down here. We understand it when we look at it. You know, the breakdown failure sets up, hey, if you're trading this downtrend here, you know, when you see I've got my line, look to the left, see if there's something there that could cause a possible turn. But unexpected news can play havoc with you know, a well trading plan. So now we've got this reversal. And so let's see where it is. It got almost up to 314.50. 314.50 is not up quite to the high of yesterday's bar. So if it was gapping above the high of that bar, it'd be that, wow, that's something. But it's relatively deep into yesterday's range. So now we'll see, does it hold that low? You know, we got the Fed thing meeting and I guess announcement tomorrow. There's always this, you know, this impeachment thing that flip-flopping around. I don't know. So, you know, at the moment, making me think, you know, well, this certainly looked like it was going down into the gap fill in the M top that we talked about yesterday, and still may be, but we have to really see whether this reversal here can actually hold up today or whether it just rolls back to the downside again. And so you could see when we look at the futures, we'll get a clearer view. But yesterday was the push up into you know, that resistance area there, and it tried to make the turn higher, and it failed, and didn't fail in a big way. Excuse me. You know, but nonetheless, it, you know, it came down here, didn't fill the gap. It's still the idea of creating support. And now with this idea of opening up here, well, let's just call it 314 for the moment. It may not be there. But so gapping up to at least the area of the high of this hourly bar, which potentially sets up a low. You know, we'll see it that, you know, when that bar has completed itself, whether excuse me, this actually becomes what it'll look like a, you know, a little breakdown failure and a 180 reversal. Excuse me, my throat is and so we'll see if this actually can make the turn or not. So I guess where that puts us is, you know, in a state of uncertainty, meaning, you know, the weekly is a little extended. As we talked about yesterday, this kind of a pattern with the bottoming tail bar after a run up was suggestive of, you know, it could be a continuation pattern. That hasn't been confirmed yet because it would have to trade above it. It could be sideways consolidation, building up a new area of support, bullish, or it could result in a pullback. Whereas, you know, it dipped down, it ran a race back up again. It's a little tired, and that's why I said the maybe sideways consolidation. So we've got, you know, patterns that are out of alignment with each other, which means I really don't know, right? I need more information, whether this is going to be some sideways action here. And, you know, maybe by the end of the day, we're going to have a clearer view of what's happening. But as we're starting the day, with prices popping up as to where I said, that's the beginning of a turn on an hourly chart, which is still constructive, meaning the depth of retracement here being 100%, that's a plus. But it's at resistance where, again, what we spoke about yesterday, sellers should emerge and test the area to see what happens. So they pulled back yesterday. We're starting to turn here. We'll see if it can hold here, chopping around, which theoretically could open up the door for this to push up to new all-time highs. So we'll see. Let's move on to the Qs. pretty much the same story. 204.50, 204, well, it's 204.20, got up to 204.50. So a similar story here. You know, this didn't get up to the high, but, you know, pulled back, broke under the low there. Market closes. Now we're back up to the high of the red bar. So again, could be a breakdown failure. The gap fill is down here. All right. So if this can hold up, that means it's in the process of making a higher low. And what we would view as, you know, if it can resolve itself and stay up here, let's say for a few hours, bullish price action in an area of resistance. So bullish price action doesn't mean that it just has to stay here. Bullish price action can and could mean breakdown failures. So while it's attempting to get through here, fails, tries to go down, fails, right? Theoretically, what's happened here, fails. It begins to build a higher support area that it could launch the move higher from. So to repeat myself, everything here is the same in that we really don't know yet. Right? This looked like it could follow through to the downside. Now we get some news that things get turned around. So turning points historically are more difficult than just, okay, I'm buying within an uptrend. You know, turning points or, you know, bullish traders are, well, I'm not giving it up yet. This is not so bad. And now it retraced back up again. That's pretty darn good. Can it hold up here? Well, I don't know, but I'm just going to give it the wiggle room to stay out of the way of this noise to see what happens. So, you know, what I titled on YouTube, you know, schizophrenic market too close to the price action. Well, part of our factory work that we call our thought process is what we do is when a price pattern becomes erratic in whatever time frame we're viewing. We could be an intraday trader and it could be on a 15-minute chart or a 5-minute chart. When things break support, you start getting overlapping bars, you get deep retracements, you get tails, you get gaps. The factory work says, go to the higher time frame, compress the data, see if it makes sense. We go to the weekly, as we're talking about this here. We go to the weekly. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's up a whole bunch, bars in a row. It stalled, it dipped, it came back up again. It's consolidating. What do I do here? Stay away. Go find something else to trade that has things in alignment that's easier. Maybe go find something that's beaten down and it's a bottoming pattern that's beginning to turn. Hey there, Wendell. Well, they're on YouTube. Trader, why do have the title of today's session? Oh, I'm explaining that right now, Trade Markets Live, because things were headed lower and the news came out, right, and drove prices back up again. So this market, by definition, on how it's traded over the last couple of years, with, you know, depending on what markets you look at and when you look at where it's at, you see nasty breaks to the downside that immediately get reversed. You get erratic price action. So the title was based on the price action this morning, but it was also to explain, right, to give a short lesson as well. Look, depending on what time frame I'm looking at, the factory work is applicable to whatever, whether you're a day trader or a swing trader, is that when things get erratic, I'm using the word schizophrenic for that, you go to a higher time frame and you compress the data and you try and make sense out of it. Okay? All right. So let's keep going. Futures. All right, so it was dipping down. You got a bottoming tail bar. I don't know how that's going to end the end of the day, but a deep retracement up into where it fell from. Breakdown failure, little downside shakeout. That's bullish. There's still a mess to the left. What do? Stay away. Qs, same story, deep retracement. So it's a good start to building a low. And this looks more, we had a little discussion about head and shoulders tops, where the ideal is where the right side is actually a little lower than the left. But, we don't always get the textbook scenario. In any event, you can see here. So if this can continue to consolidate here, let's just assume at the end of the day, this bar looks exactly like that. And the next day it takes out, you got the Fed thing tomorrow. But in any event, forgetting news, if it can take out this high, I think that opens up the door to new all-time highs based on what's going on here at the moment. But we'll see how it all ends. Yeah, I'm talking, Nick. I guess Nick can't hear me. Okay. Let's keep going. YM, same story. No need to repeat. As similar patterns. And you can see this one is more of the textbook with the lower high, but notice the depth of retracement here after the break. Even the depth of retracement puts this somewhat in question as a head and shoulders top, because they typically are only going to retrace, they retrace to about 50% or somewhere around this area. Anyway, it's not out of the woods, but by the end of the day today, if this reversal that happened, those gains are held on to, that's going to be a positive sign. This looks the best. It's still got the mess to deal with like everything else, but consolidated for a few weeks. And it's got, well, over here with the ETF, you can see it's got the big void above where, we're waiting for months there to see if which way that was going to resolve itself. And it resolved itself to the upside. And now it's just consolidating a little bit. And this potentially has, potential for a big gain here. Things can get going. I don't think this is going to go up all by itself. Maybe other markets lag this one a bit. We'll see. But this one has lots of room before getting up to the old all-time highs. Oil consolidating bullishly, and this is kind of the fellow that asked in YouTube, a lady, whatever, schizophrenic kind of price action, right? Consolidating, right? Green bar, back down, nailed to the downside, right back up, consolidating again, all the way back down, right back up. That's crazy. It's uncertainty. Well, there's uncertainty, meaning I want to sell up here. I'm scared to death what's going to happen when that happens. Short, get out of positions, longs. This is going to crater. Oh, maybe things aren't as bad as they look. Right back up again, and now we're getting the consolidation again. So this may just start getting to the upside. Think you should start calling the market normal, George? Well, I've seen crazy markets, in the past. Normal, I suppose, is what is in the moment, but what was normal, say, a month ago, today is crazy. And then, over the next 6 months, what, was normal, I suppose, can get crazy again. So this is what really plays havoc with, investors and traders as to, you're trading a certain pattern or setups, and then all of a sudden they just stop working, and you just keep doing it again because you think it'll come back. And, this is what really takes a lot of profits out of, scenarios like that, when you can't adjust, and no one can really adjust in the moment because you're not sure whether it's just, a one-time event or a two-time event, or whether this is what we're in for. So our market internals do help with that. And right now our market internals are not really helping. As you can see, they're dead neutral. So they're really not giving us anything to go on. So, all right, let's get going here. Bonds, hit resistance, back down to support, jiggling all around here. Just waiting for Fed news. Gold, Still trying to hold this low here. We got that W bottom, deep retracement back down. It's improving. And the only reason why I'd be considering this bottoming type of price action is because, and again, this is down at the bottom of the wide range bar, but the monthly was a multiple year breakout. So it makes sense for this to begin to, build a turning point. We're waiting for it to do it. And silver had a breakdown, and we'll see whether that breakdown actually turns out to be a little failure and turns back around. That's what should happen with gold. And lastly, the transports. Just, see the mess, right? The schizophrenic, go to the higher time frame. Oh, it's consolidating at the top of the range. That makes sense. Let's see if it can get through this high here. And, so we have what I call our factory work, our thought process that guides us as to what's happening. And when one time frame doesn't make sense, based on the erratic kind of price actions, we go to higher time frames. And then let's just assume this breaks out. Then we can go back down to the lower time frame, because that'll be what I would call, has cleaned up the mess, so to speak. And then we can take positions from the smaller. So that's it. All yours, Dan.
All right. Good morning. I was just there watching the news on the impeachment announcement. They seem very happy about it. But on now about the tariff news, there was one guy on the floor. I don't know his name, but yeah, he was funny. He said the exact same thing I did. He's like, this is like the 250th time. Up, down, up, down. And you could tell he's annoyed with it too. All right, all of our opens look fine. So let's go right to gappers. MJ, it's not a gapper, but we're going to keep an eye on this. It's still in a downtrend, other than, it made a higher low. But it's still damaged goods. It's bottom fishing. And tomorrow, our MT Live is on retracement concepts. It's going to be a fantastic session, like all of them. And then we're going to conclude the month with the week after year-end review and show you how we bottom fish. So MJ is going to be on that list of bottom fishing analysis. GNW 462, big gap, too big. SNY 4770, a nice gap up, but it's an ADR, and it's a fairly big gap. Netflix, yeah, I know some folks in the room were asking me about going long this into the close, and I'm like, it's had that big topping tail engulfing bar, bearish 15, and I saw on the news that they got like 34 nominations, so their products are doing really well, their movies, and then that begs the question, okay, they got 34 nominations, why is this thing gapping down $7? Well, like always in trading news, whatever the news was, it's not as good as the majority of shareholders were betting on for the value of the company at that particular point. It was closing price 302.50. So that's why we don't trade news. Yeah, I don't care I don't care. Downgrade, upgrade, sideways grade. Who cares? Fran, that actually was a nice double bottom there. And this is another bottoming pattern that we could have talked about next week. And I would have said, yes, this was a credible bottoming pattern. But, today was earnings, so that's different. And now it's getting its clock cleaned. Bearish getting smacked back down to the low end of this base. There's no pattern for us. This was a gap and crap yesterday, but what I like is this. When you get things that just get shellacked like that, that leaves what we call a big price void. Now it's a bullish gap. It's a buy setup. If it can hold right here and you know, take out 5, 10, 15-minute high. This would be a good day trade candidate. Target 450 to 5. Stop pre-market lows once provided you get a bullish setup after the market opens. DBI 14 bucks, bearish gap under all of this. So this was an upside shakeout. There's nothing to do with it now. This looks like a penny stock toy. I got no interest in the way you trade. TSM got an upgrade, but no pattern. NLOC. This is that Norton LifeLock thing merger we were talking about a few days ago. And it's just in the news of they're considering, and that's kind of rare. It's that they're considering buying McAfee, I think. So I don't know. Once again, on the news, it's not my job to determine if that's good or bad news, because my opinion is 100% irrelevant. All that's relevant is the gap giving a good tradable setup. That is the only thing that matters. Oh, McAfee to buy them? Ah, so I read it wrong. Oh, okay. I thought these guys wanted to buy McAfee. Okay, that, I mean, just textbook explains why it's gapping up, because it's a buyout candidate. MDB had earnings. One, it's a bullish gap, but no pattern. McGraw put spread candidate. If we can go through our process. MDU, I can't tell where you're trading. Charlie Foxtrot, I think, got a downgrade. CSX got a downgrade. You know, no great pattern. CVE, I don't know what you're doing, and there's no pattern, so I'm just deleting you. Oxy, I like the short yesterday's low. Same with LUV. Alex found these for us yesterday. Con earnings getting whacked, 15 bucks, way down here. Wow, look at this greed. 180 reversal. Wow. NIO, little penny stock toy, got no interest. LQDT, I don't like the way it trades, you're gone. HDS, 4010, there's no pattern. DBI, 14 bucks, you're getting whacked. Oh, I think I already looked at him, yeah. CMD, 79 bucks. All right, here we go. That's a gap breakout. There, I finally found what I liked. Putting that in the, it's a sell setup though on the weekly chart, but it broke out, went sideways, has a price void, you know, 80, who knows, 82 to 85. So that's step one. It's a bullish gap with a price void. Step two is what, McGraw? Step two is bullish intraday setup. It's that easy. AZO earnings 1240, gap in all-time highs. That's wow. What's his cousin? It's not PSA. We were looking at his cousin AAP. There you go. Yeah, this was on my short watch list yesterday, but I think he's gapping up in sympathy. Casey getting whacked, retail 165, way down here, but no pattern. SFIX 2750, bullish gap and still has room on the weekly, but we need a pullback. Road, oh, rolling, no, not a something something. A something something is when I have a questionable turn and I need something to tell me that you're ready to turn, like PSA. Look, PSA, it's in a sideways trend and a downtrend, right? So I need a something something to say you're ready to go up. And there's different flavors of that. Gap reversal, bottoming tail, wide range breakout, gap breakout. So no, on the gappers, CMD, part 2 is just give me a bullish intraday setup. And how quick you get on board, whether it's 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes, is just a function of how aggressive you want to get on board, plus how it sets up. And I obviously like the broader markets being with me, although many times gappers are on their own page. I don't like the way this trades and there's no volume, but if it were gapping up to 31, that would be a bullish gap. We'll come back to you. Mountain 235, that's garbage, you're gone. Chewy. Now Chewy, it gapped down, it's filled the gap, but if it can take out yesterday's high, then it's a bottoming pattern and red bar ignored and price void to 27 or 28. So I'll keep that on the list. 639, gap up, but that's a mess. Toll. Now this one I'm going to keep on the list. It had earnings and it's gapping down. So this one also, if it can take out yesterday's high, then there's room to 45 on the weekly. There's AAP, AFG. All right, I'm into yesterday's. Yeah, these are yesterday's. Look at plug here. It's a 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put a little plug on my watch list. SIG. Wow, SIG is all over the place. We entered a half lot yesterday. I can't tell. Oh, that was a pre-market whip. But I also had a put spread idea, which did not get triggered yesterday. So now I got to decide. Yeah, it was the 1917.5 for 30 cents. I can't tell what's going on with it quite yet. I guess the specialist is still at the coffee stand. Alta day trade. CMG. Yeah, CMG I didn't trigger yesterday, but I still like that as a put spread. It's holding well. Futures, you know, taking out their 1 minute low here with a price void, so that suggests lower prices. Wow, look at CGC. These marijuana, well, it's nothing on the daily. I just saw it on the 15 selling off. Or the 5 minute looks more ominous than the 15 or the daily. We got this Tilray short still, BRMK for Lewis. Whoa. Wow. I didn't know that was a recent IPO. Over the high of this bar was your entry on 12